Wake up tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern. Right now, Colin Cowherd reacts to yesterday's protests around the NFL. Herd starts now.
Joy provokes me, y'all.
This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1 1 hour from now. Peter King and Where Colin Was Right, Where Colin Was Wrong. Howie Long in 30 minutes. Greg Jennings, Chris Broussard, another NBA move, and Christine Leahy is joining me on what will be a rambunctious Monday with a lot of sports.
Why rambunctious?
There was just so much good football yesterday, plus the president's comments, and it was polarizing and galvanizing, and it was just a weekend with a lot of movement and a lot of talk and a lot of reactions. One of the things I've learned, and I've said this for years and years, I'm not going to tell you how to think. That's not my show. I just tell you how I think. Sports does different things to different people. I can take my daughter to a game. She's a teenager. She's in awe of the stadium. I go to games. I'm kind of analytical. It's why I don't go to sports bars. I like go to games. Sometimes I'll go to a game, sit in the end zone, watch the play develop. Some people go to games and they get drunk. I go to games, I want clarity. I'm going to a game tonight. I don't want to be drunk. Some people see sports as escapism. I've never once in my life gone to a game to escape. Not once, ever. Escape what? I love my wife. I love my job. I love my kids. What am I escaping? If you have to go to sports to escape, maybe that's more on you and not the wide receiver who just took a knee. Sports and how you react to sports, it's up to you. But never think everybody reacts the same. People react differently to different opinions. And when I go to a game, I never expect it to be perfect. The parking's always worse than I hoped. Getting out of the stadium's worse. There's always a drunk somewhere in my section. I've sat in sections with vulgarity and fights. The food's never as good as what I pay for it, and that beer's not worth $12. I don't go to football games or athletic events thinking everything's going to be perfect or everybody's going to act the way I would act. So if somebody has a nonviolent, silent protest, whether it aligns with my beliefs or not, I don't look for people to align with my beliefs. I thought it was interesting yesterday. The NFL not only has 32 franchises, it has 32 different cultures. Fans, owners, teams all reacted differently. Some guys stayed in the locker room. Seattle, Tennessee decided to do that. Pittsburgh did, then one guy came out. Some players kneeled. Some grabbed arms. There was no right way to react to that. Everybody does it their own way. Every fan brings a different personality to a game, and every head coach, owner, player, and culture is different in this league. I think when you get angry is when you expect people to act the way you would act, to align with your beliefs. I don't pick friends like that. I don't pick arenas like that. I didn't pick a wife like that. And I hope my kids don't believe everything I do. I did think this was fascinating, though. You have a right when you own a team to build a culture any way you want and hire any coach. Yesterday was a prime example how different cultures are in the NFL. Last week, I had a rant on the Steelers and the Seahawks. I said, in my opinion, they were the most emotional cultures in the NFL. More high fives, louder, more talkative, more outspoken, more late hits. Two of the worst performances yesterday were by the Steelers and the Seahawks. I would say the third most emotional franchise is the Baltimore Ravens. They have made a living of tough and talkative. They were awful. When you build a franchise high on emotion, you are more susceptible to mood swings. By the way, if I told you personalities with little or no effect, think about this. Tennessee, between Mike Mularkey and Marcus Mariota, they have virtually no pulse. That is a franchise that is flat, even keel. The coach doesn't talk. The quarterback doesn't talk. Tennessee was great yesterday. What did I talk about last week? Kansas City. Andy Reid on the sidelines. Stoic. It's a team with a quarterback most of you wouldn't recognize in a shopping mall. They won. New England, head down, businesslike, almost academic, little or no emotion generally. They won too. Think about that. There is no one way to act to it. But when you build cultures on emotion, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Baltimore, you are certainly capable of more mood swings. Baltimore didn't lose. They were humiliated. They didn't show up emotionally. Seattle didn't just lose. They were not buttoned up. Pittsburgh didn't just lose. They lost to a horrible team and showed virtually no emotion for 3.5 hours. And by the way, the Miami Dolphins, Jay Cutler, enigmatic, displaced by a hurricane, cap emblems, all in emotionally, didn't show up to play. I don't know if it transcends 1 week. I am never going to tell you how to act. I'm never going to tell you how to feel. This show is called The Herd. I just tell you how I act and how I feel. But last week, I specifically talked about how cultures are different in the NFL. And Seattle and Baltimore and Pittsburgh, highly emotional cultures, almost appeared susceptible to a very polarizing weekend. And Kansas City and Tennessee and New England. By the way, Green Bay, the franchise that tells us RELAX. Relax. Also won. You can decide how to build your business. Either way is fine. Both ways can win Super Bowls. But I did think it was interesting how teams played yesterday based on their culture. Also, and we'll have a lot of stuff on a lot of things today, it was a remarkable football day. It was an all-time football day. And let me talk for about 3 minutes about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Once again, Rodgers and Brady separate from the rest of the league. We think of football as parity and anybody can win. But just think about yesterday. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It was a remarkable football game. I mean, it was an all-time day. That 1 o'clock window, that 10 a.m. Pacific window, may have been the best 3.5 hours of football in several years. And we think football is going to change. And we bet like it's going to change. And we play fantasy football like it's going to change. And we go to the games like it's going to change. But think of what happened yesterday in the NFL. Cleveland is still 0-3. The Lions invented another way to lose. Pittsburgh was bad on the road. Flacco, once again, not elite. The Chargers figure another way to lose close. Cam struggles. OBJ was amazing, yet the Giants lose. And Brady and Rodgers separate from the pack. It is, think about how many things went wrong for Green Bay. They had a pick six. They were sacked 6 times. They had no running game. They trailed 21-7 at half. They didn't have their left tackle, their right tackle, their best defensive tackle. They had a rookie covering A.J. Green. And they won. And think about New England. Brady was sacked 5 times. Brady lost a fumble that was recovered and taken for a touchdown. The Patriots missed their right tackle. Houston outgained New England. Houston won time of possession easily. Houston had more first downs. And New England wins. Rodgers and Brady are the deodorants of the NFL. They're the incense. All Green Bay and New England were yesterday was flawed. Mistakes, sacks, missing tackles, getting into holes. But a great quarterback allows you, and we've never in my life had a quarterback like Brady. We've never seen one like Brady. At 40 years old, that last drive was the best I've ever seen him. That's as good as I've seen Brady against a crushing pass rush with stars on the defense. I've never seen a game in which Green Bay was outplayed for 2.5 of the 3.5 hours at home. When anybody says, I can't believe you gave up 6 draft picks for that star quarterback. Yesterday, Rodgers and Brady, that is why. New England was outgained and outplayed and out-physicaled. So was Green Bay for most of the afternoon. And arguably the 2 greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen play. Hey, Aaron Rodgers is up there. Don't kid yourself. Overcame all of it. Deodorant, incense. They take away all that smell. Both New England and Green Bay should have lost yesterday. Both Green Bay and New England were dominated for long stretches. Neither played well. Both missing tackles and stars. But the 2 greatest quarterbacks maybe I've ever seen overcame all of it. It's the same reason USC has been outplayed 4 straight weeks in the first half, but with Sam Darnold, they're 4-0. Good to have you in today on a wild weekend where our president decided to not stick to politics, and therefore that created some tumult in basketball, in NASCAR, in stars pushing back, and in the NFL. It was a wildly emotional weekend. I tell you, I try to stick to sports as often as I can, but when the president doesn't stick with politics and creates what we had yesterday, it absolutely, I believe, had an effect on players, coaches, owners, and teams, and it was a sports story. Around the corner is Howie Long. There was a incident yesterday with a couple of star players in this league, and I thought people massively overreacted to it. That's coming up. Football season started. Not too late to get closer to the game you love with DraftKings 1 Week Fantasy Football. This Sunday, they're hosting a $100,000 contest, totally free to enter. Just go to DraftKings.com, code HERD. You can see that site for details. There are a lot of ways to play, a lot. Public contests. There are playing with a group of friends. They have beginner and casual contests where you play against people of similar skill level, which is probably the best way to start if you're a fantasy football player. You don't want to go against the pros, the guys that have been doing this for 10 and 15 years. And you'll never burn up the waiver wire trying to replace star players because you got to pick a new team every week. That's the beauty of 1 Week Fantasy Football at DraftKings. Go there now, promo code HERD, play for free, $100,000 in total prizes. $100,000, play for free, DraftKings.com, code HERD, eligibility restrictions apply.